Amazing people. How many of us have ever thought of the importance of acts of service in a marriage or just in life in general? Because currently I have been thinking about it. I don't know why, but I feel like a lot of us, especially in our relationships, do not take them as such a big deal. We only consider it as a love language, and of course, it is done, especially for people who love when acts of services are done. So, for someone who is in a relationship and their partner loves giftings, they highly overlook the acts of service because they're like, they will never appreciate acts of service. Probably, let me just do the giftings because that is what this person that I love loves, right? But when you think about it in a broader perspective, because sometimes when we're talking about relationship, it doesn't really necessarily have to be the wife and husband kind of relationship. A relationship can be your friendships, the people that you have allowed yourself to relate with them, whether it is as a romantic relationship, whether it's a friendship, even in your family. Acts of kindness are really important, and I feel like they are very important. When you look at, I'm gonna go there, I know a lot of you would not want to hear this, but when someone passes on and you're writing about a eulogy, for example, most of the time what you will remember is what they did. How much impact did this person make in my life? So when I'm writing a eulogy for this particular person that I really love so much as death has been so cruel and taken that person away, the things I will remember is not how beautiful they were. It's not what a wonderful smile they had. It is how amazing the beautiful smile they had was used. Was it used to make me feel any better or make someone else feel amazing? We'd write testimonials of how this person did and how whatever they did had such an impact in our lives. And that is why today I'm emphasizing the importance of acts of service. How small acts of service can transform lives, and the ripple effect that thing can have. When we're talking about small acts of service, what are we saying? Serving someone means that you are going out of your way to do something that is not normally expected of you to do. That is what we call acts of service. You are doing something that, of course, people were not expecting you to do. So, for example, an old lady is crossing the road and you happen to be around there and you feel like if they use their pace, something is gonna happen to them. They might actually be hit. So you rush and you hold their hands, and then you're also actually using your hand to like tell the cars, wait, there's someone who is passing. Or you find children in a zebra crossing, but the cars are not standing, and you decide, you know what, I'm the older person, I'm just gonna stop, let the children pass. They did not require you to do that, because eventually a driver was gonna stop, eventually someone else was gonna do it, or they would have waited until the traffic and the cars are probably gone, and then they're gonna cross the road, right? But that probably will take a bit longer, especially if they're headed to school or headed home, because again, it's late. And if they're going to school, you don't want them to be late to go to school. So you do an act of service, not because these kids know you or they deserve it, but because you want to serve them. And that is what acts of service do. They are a way of just communicating that you respect someone, that you love them, that you honor them, without necessarily using words, because sometimes words can be worthless, especially if you have said them a lot. I have been in places where I have promised a child, especially my own, gifts over and over again. I'm gonna buy you this, I'm gonna buy you this, I'm gonna buy you this, and eventually he gets so used to it because I just promise and I never do. But the minute I promise I will bring you a car, or I will bring you a gift, or when I come back I'm gonna come with a packet of sweets, and I do that, it has so much weight because it has communicated that this person, whatever they said, they actually do. Now, for acts of service, you don't necessarily have to communicate or promise, because these are things that sometimes, or most of the times, you do spontaneously. When someone is having their wedding and they have no one to probably do the catering, and you're a good cook, They don't have the resources, and you volunteer and are like, listen guys, I might not be able to give you money because I am not in a space to give you money right now, but I can decide by the way to cook for you. So go buy everything that you're buying, and then we're gonna find a way of getting the utensils and everything, and I'm gonna cook at no cost. So I'm helping you. And I didn't have to, I just volunteered. As much as the opportunity or there was a need that would be met, however it was supposed to be met, you have made it easy for this couple. So every time this couple either are praying or are giving their testimonies, you are going to be mentioned. They're going to say, you know, a friend of us showed up and they decided they're going to cook for free. You know, all we had to do was buy the foodstuffs, you know, and the food was amazing. When they are making that testimonial, you know what they are doing? They are talking about your kindness. And this is the amazing thing about acts of kindness, and now the ripple effect that it will have when they themselves now hear a couple that is going to probably do a wedding and is struggling in one or two areas, and they can take care of it. It will be so easy for them, because they will remember, you know, someone took care of our food. They didn't have to, but they did it, and they did it so well. So we will come and support you, because guess what? Someone also supported us. It's like one act of kindness can trickle down to so many people, and that is what we are saying, the ripple effects of small acts of kindness. I have been in situations where, especially when I was a single person, I was able to accommodate a few people in my house, not because I had the capacity to do it. It's because someone needed help, and at that particular time I was like, you know what, if I am available and I have room, as much as I might not be able to accommodate you because financially I'm not yet fully stable that I can host you or do one or two things for you, come, we can actually see how we can do it. There are those that came and we had to cost share, especially on food, you know. There are those that necessarily did not come to live with me, but every time we used to cook, we would pull our resources together. They would bring A, I would bring B, and then we cook and we eat together, and everyone goes home and we're like, oh my god, this is nice. Because you know what, it was not about doing a lot. It was just bringing people together and making sure that, you know what, there's a need that has been met. Because sometimes you find that someone has probably the what, they have the starch, but they don't have the protein, and you have the proteins, and when you guys come together, you have a balanced diet. So that's how we pull resources together. Listen, your small acts of kindness mean a lot to people, even without them telling you. I have sat down right now, even while I'm having this conversation, and thought of the many people that have come through in my life. I have sat like this, and someone just came and volunteered to buy a whole set of shirts for me in the ushering team, and I was so humbled, and I didn't know why she did it, and I was like, Lord, I am grateful. You know, when she does that, it just speaks a lot of volume to me. Trust me, when someone else is in need, I might not really go and reward this person who did buy me the shirt, but I can do the favor to someone else. When I'm in a position to help another person, I'll be like, guess what, someone somewhere, a particular time I was in need, decided, you know what, she's gonna buy me all the shirts. Now that I am able and I have the capacity, I'm gonna take care of someone else. Ripple effect. So without knowing, what she did for me is moving on. I'm doing it for someone else because she did for me, and she has created a room where I have the openness and willingness to want to help someone else, because I was also helped, right? When we were planning our wedding, I remember a lot of people pulled their resources together. You know, they gave money, they gave resources, they showed up. Yeah, I didn't know a lot of them, especially because they were coming from Kikuyu and PCA Rongiri. You guys are amazing. I am grateful for everybody. If you ever get to watch these videos, I want to say a big thank you for how you came, how you showed up, the amount of money you gave, the support you offered us. You know, all the people that were in my committee, and they made decisions, and they came through to the last day. I am grateful. I never got the opportunity to say thank you, you know. I never got the opportunity to interact with a lot of you and just appreciate you on my own. I remember when we were doing a particular contribution somewhere at my husband's homestead, I was given an opportunity to say something, and all I could say is, God, the same God that has used you to bless me, may He reward you. Because you know what? I might not come to each and every one of you and appreciate you. I might not be in a place to interact with you on a daily basis, but the sacrifices that you gave, the many times you have showed up for our meetings and our committees and everything, may the Almighty God reward you. When you have your needs come up and you also probably are planning something that requires resources, may people show up, not because you deserve it, but because you are a blessing to me. May God send helpers again who will come and bless you, because I might not actually be the one to repay that act of kindness, but the ripple effect we are talking about, may, because I pray, this is my prayer, may God answer you when you call, because you answered my call, you filled my bounty, you know, and it is such an amazing thing. So when we're talking about acts of service, I want to encourage everybody that is listening to me. It is not just about doing it so that you can feel satisfied. It is not just doing it so that people can know that you are able to do it. It is not about doing it so that you look like you're wealthy and your everything is working out and it's okay. Not really. It also trickles down to how that act of kindness you did will have a ripple effect on someone else, right? The many times people have done things for me has softened my heart and also given me that willingness to want to help another person. So that is the ripple effect we're talking about, that when you come and you do something, you hold someone's hand in the time of their need, they are so encouraged and so motivated, and probably if it is a season they are going through, after their season is over and God has blessed them and now they are able to do it, I believe strongly that people don't necessarily need to come and return the favor back to me just because I did it for you, so you do it back to me. No, I believe that is, I do my best, I live, but you also pick the lessons of the fact that you can also be a blessing to someone else and then go and be a blessing to someone else. And that is what we're talking about today. Love and truth is a space where we are talking about the truths that are involved in relating, in love, in relationships. Mostly we focus on romantic relationships, but today I'm focusing on just random relationships and friendships, you know, because sometimes we really need to just be a shoulder to lean on. So you can imagine if such a thing can have such an impact to people that are away from you because you did that act for one time only. Can you imagine how much impact you will have if you do it, especially in the life of your spouse? You just doing the things that you're not supposed to do. I'm addressing husbands here. I'm telling husbands, just because you're providing rent does not mean that you cannot help a sister to wash clothes. Because once you do things that is not normally expected of you, it speaks volumes to them. So you are in a household where you have decided that the role of the rent is on the husband, and the role of probably the house, like buying groceries and making sure that food is in the house, is for the woman, right? And everyone does their part. You know, as much as you will appreciate that this person is pulling their weight, there is not really much you're communicating because you're doing what we agreed that you should do, syndrome. So if I'm to say thank you, I'll just say thank you, but in the back of your mind you'll be like, yeah, it's your responsibility, because you have divided the responsibility. But when now either the husband decides, I paid the rent as agreed, but not only that, my wife, this particular month, because I had surplus, or because I want you to use your money to treat yourself, I will buy the groceries as well, something that is supposed to be done by you. What are you saying? It's an act of service. You're telling this person, I see you. You're telling this person that I understand you and I want to be in your shoes. Where the wife decides, you know what, baby, I have a lot of money that I've been saving because, of course, maybe whatever I have been doing as my responsibilities has cost me to have so much surplus. I want to pay maybe for the next 2 months of rent. And this husband is there wowed because he's like, yeah, you did not have to, because of course we have our duties and our whatever's divided, but because you did it, it speaks volumes to me, right? Yeah, it can be now go back, not just buying and monetary value. You can go down to now services themselves, where you decide, you know what, especially now where it comes to cleaning, you know, I know a lot of that responsibility in a lot of marriages is left for the women, and lucky are those ones that now have helpers that will come in and help them, and they are paid at the end of the month, so that the woman is not really as exhausted as she should have been because of being overwhelmed with house chores and all that. But can you imagine, in the midst of all that, you probably have a help, you probably are doing other things, but then the husband one time wakes up very early in the morning and says, you know what, even the help should not cook, I am the one cooking breakfast for the family. And he goes out of his way and probably prepares something special, you know. Can you imagine how amazed and how thankful and how, like, I don't know the feeling if that woman will have, you know. Even the help who is supposed to be doing the roles will be so wowed. She will be there saying, hey, you have a very good husband. Does it mean that before he cooked he wasn't a good man? No, it just shows that he understands, he's human, and he has met a need that, of course, was being met. But just because he went far above and beyond his responsibilities, it communicates something different. Everyone that is looking at that situation in that particular household that day, the house help will be like, hey, this man is amazing, you know. You have such a wonderful spouse and partner. The wife will be there saying, oh my god, I fell for the best, you know. He didn't have to, but he did it. And that is what we're talking about. Acts of service. Acts of service communicate more than I love you communicates, because I can come here and be like, I love you, I honestly, truly, absolutely love you, right? But then I can show up with an act that actually proves that I do love you, and that will communicate more. Because when you are also trying to explain how much I love you, like if you were to probably sit somewhere and tell someone, this guy loves me, you will sit down and be like, this girl loves me. How does she love you? She not only said it, but she proved it and acted it. She went out of her way one particular time, showed up for me, you know, when I was in my worst. She makes calls, follows up, and does whatever acts of service, right? Yeah, so I know that when we are talking about acts of service in love language, we normally narrow it down to just doing things in the house, around the house, to just help someone. But it goes beyond that, because when we are talking about acts of service, it's you serving people, doing things that they normally don't receive on a daily basis. Yeah, we have read scripture of when Jesus washed his disciples' feet. Did he have to? No, but he showed them what humility meant by doing that act. And you know, there are some that were very afraid. Like Peter was like, why are you washing my feet? You know, you are not supposed to do that. You know, you're God and all that. But as much as it sounded so weird for Peter, Jesus was trying to communicate something. He was communicating humility and service, you know. And I think from that one act, they learned so much than just him always speaking and telling them, serve people, you know, do this. Because they saw him serve them, it was so easy for them to serve others. And that is where we are talking about the ripple effect of you doing an act of service. You will find that it will come back to you. In relationships, as I'm saying, once you do an act of service, it is human nature to reciprocate and respond in like manner as much as it might be in different degrees, it can be reciprocated. So that is the ripple effect that that act of kindness will have in your relationship. I'm encouraging couples who are watching me, please practice acts of service. It might not be your spouse's or partner's love language, but please communicate how much you care for this person, sometimes without using words. Words sometimes can be very empty, especially if they're said over and over again. They can lose meaning, but acts of service communicate much more. Words will be spoken about you when you leave earth. And my question is, what do you want them to see? What do you want them to write about you? While they are crying and feeling bad that they have lost you, will they cry for a day and then be like, good riddance? He wasn't even that meaningful. He wasn't even pulling his weight around. Or will they cry not only for losing you, but also losing the privilege that comes with having you around? Because your acts of service will be missed. They'll sit down and say, oh my God, no one can love me the way so and so loved me, because he used to do, she used to do, and now no one is doing, right? Yeah, so you can also think of it that way. So you can do it not because you are trying to make people miss you when you're gone, or for them to write something concerning you or speak positive about you in in that ceremony, but because you also want to leave an impact in the lives of the people that you have around you, so that while they are crying that you're gone, they are also crying because they're gonna miss that thing that you are doing so well, right? Thank you so much for being here. See you on the next one. Bye bye.